I'm just going to run through a couple of quick slides first, and then we'll go through the webinar and the demonstration of how our supply chain solution, warehouse solution and transport solution works with Sage Intacct. Thanks, Tabash. So just a little background on the RIC Group. We started originally in 2001 working with retailers, and most of our work was done around GS1 barcodes and implementing barcodes for stock taking and picking and things like this. And we eventually moved in that found that those problems existed for wholesale, distribution and manufacturing, and the same problems existed, which was we want to implement the barcoding solutions to get more efficiency through the warehouse and through the manufacturing floor. So the last 20 years I've been involved with the RIC Group with our warehouse and transport management solution. And the trend that I see now is we're moving into what we call just 3D. So how do we have a 3D on the warehouse floor, shop floor, to improve operations and efficiency? So we do have sites in Australia, New Zealand, Africa and USA, and there's a distributor in the USA for us at the moment, and over the last couple of years that's worked really well, and we've started to build some momentum into the Latin America market. The solution is browser-based, and it's a cloud solution on Azure, and we do have a loosely coupled technology, so it sits outside of Sage Intacct, and it uses the API, REST API for integration. We do have certain security layers, one of them being token-based, and we do use OAuth 2 as well. There's a number of functions that the WMS and TMS will cover. Today in the webinar, and the trend that we're seeing in the warehouse is how do I move a pallet in the receiving, put away, transfers and picking. So our solution and webinar today will do the part what we call license plate numbering, and our solution will call it kitting. But how do we move a pallet just from single scans through the warehouse, from receiving to put away to picking? And how do we load that pallet efficiently on trucks as well? And we'll cover a little bit about route history as well. So the solution, has what we call audit lines through the whole part. So whether it's picking, stock taking, or receiving, put away, we have these what we call audit lines, and we have coloured coordinated. So green meaning fully picked, and yellow will mean that it's partially picked as well. And those fields that you see can be captured and moved. You can change item code to SKU, so you can do a whole lot of configurable. It's also multi-language as well. We do have integrated freight, and we will show you a little bit about that. And our warehouse users will use this freight screen to capture the consignments, the length, width, height, the volumes and the weight. And they'll do it all the time, which is, what's on my consignment and who's it going out on. And we also have a customer service portal that our customer service teams use as well. We have run management. Some people will call it run management, route management. Basically, where we've picked orders, we've created shipments, and now or invoices, and now we want to load them correctly onto the runs. A number of our customers in Australia and New Zealand will do runs. They'll have their own delivery vans for local or trucks. And then they'll use 3PL, third party for the integrated freight, whether that's Star Track or Direct Freight or King's Freight or whatever it may be. So some of that, will be, I have my own runs and I need to have like north, south, east, or I'll have run 1, 2, 3, and there'll be different cycles and manifests within that as well. Route planning, we see this probably being used more in the US than we do in Australia, but how do I efficiently load my route, whether it's Bing Maps or Google Maps, and there's certain API criteria that we can do there, which is, we might do weight, we might do truck height and things like that. Especially in Melbourne, there's some fairly low bridges, but those type of things we can pass, and it will give us the most efficient route at that current time. Load truck, where we've picked our orders, we've created our runs, and now the trucks have come to load. So whether we are doing that for our own trucks or a third party, we can still do it through the load truck. We can do it by scanning the pallet labels, and we can do it by scanning delivery documents or invoices as well. but we can reverse load as well. So some of them might do zone loading as well, which is, chiller or freezer, and then normal products as well. You might have different sections in the truck when you're loading, so you can separate that out as well. The manifest will go with the driver. Load planning, which we'll go through today. I've got a number of pallets, or I've got a number of boxes that I need to efficiently load into my truck. How do I load it? What's the most efficient way? How do I carry that load in my truck as well, bearing in mind there's certain weight distribution that happens? And we'll go through that today. Proof of delivery, we allow you to capture a delivery. We can do photos. You can actually do photos throughout all the applications, whether it's picking or receiving. And proof of delivery will have the same thing, which is I'm capturing a signature, and behind the scenes we get a latitude and longitude, allows the drivers to capture photos, and we send all that back, and you can view that through our customer portal. Customer portal will allow users or customer service team, internal customer service teams, to track where the orders are up to, whether they've been released in the warehouse, whether they're at picking or packing stage, whether they've been completed. The freight details, so you actually have who they went out on, what the consignment, manifest dates, and SSCCs and things like that went out. And you also have POD, two parts to the POD. One, we've got our own proof of delivery solution, which we send back to the customer portal, which allows people to view it. And we also go and get the proof of delivery from StarTrack or Australia Post or Direct Freight and send that back and get that back into the customer portal as well. So it's one area or one source where the customer service team can go and get the accurate information. We have our own API, so we've got a API there to allow for what we call, multi-cloud world. But the API integration will give us further integration to certain things like freight integration, and also allows us to do integration with external data sources if we need to, such as EDI comes up a bit. But there might be manufacturing machines that we need to do an integration with, so it happens quite a bit. Manufacturing will happen, the pallets have come off the line, and we need to integrate that already into our database while we do a scan and transfer those pallets. We have, a lot of our clients will be moving into how do I improve my reporting? How do I improve my standard reporting? Power BI comes up quite a bit from my KPIs, and then move into there. So we've got a video we'll quickly show at the end, which is about the 3D side of a warehouse. How do I look to see my empty pallets? Empty pallet spaces? How do I look at fast-moving consumer goods if I want to change my dynamic bin locations to a better route for the warehouse users? How do I look at labour optimisation, which is where my warehouse pickers have tracked today, and what type of labour I can optimise over that process as well. Rick Group, tried to keep our YouTube channel fairly up to date with videos on how it all works. We've got our customer case studies as well, and feel free to email us at sales@the-rick group. Okay, thanks, Raj. Let's get into the demo.
Thanks, Paul. So for starters, I'll share you my screen for the TBO4 side of things. Okay, so this is TBO4. This is the warehouse management solution in itself. You can see it runs on a web browser, and every user will get its individual login. So these logins can be based on a picker user or a receiver user or any kind of operational user in the warehouse. What we do is we can use the username and password to sign in, or you can use an employee barcode. We do the employee barcodes as well. It can be a QR code. You can scan the QR code to sign in as well. So basically in the screen, you can see I have typed in this username and a password for this user, and I then sign in, and it just lands me into like the homepage screen of TBO4. So once in the homepage screen of TBO4, I'll show you the receiving module, and the receiving module will give you an idea of how we receive in stock by building in kits, and then do the put away as well. So first things first, I'll show you the purchase order that I'm doing. This is Sage Intacct, and this is the purchase order that I'm going to receive in TBO4. So as you see, this is the one, P00103. And once the purchase order is created, you can see the state is pending, and you can see the items inside the purchase order I have to be received. So once this is created in Sage Intacct, what we do, we go to TBO4 and click on the option called goods receipt, and we go to something like a receiving module here. So once the receiving screen opens up, you can see there are different options here. You can look by suppliers, you can look by document numbers, depending on what you want, or you can show all, which will list all the open purchase orders in the system. So for example, I'm receiving this particular purchase order. So I just type in the purchase order. You can type any digits in the purchase order, or you can scan even a purchase order to load that purchase order. So once I click on search, you can see the purchase order comes up here. You have got the respective supplier name, supplier code. It's all being read from Sage Intacct, and it's displayed on the screen. So the next bit is basically diving into the purchase order by clicking in the purchase order number. So now once you're in the screen, you can see the respective details, like what are the items inside the purchase order, what are the description, and what is the purchase quantity in here. So the first thing here, what we will run through, as Paul has said before, that we will be building kits or license plating once we are receiving in goods. So what we need to do is tell the system that get me a kit. So I'll click create new kit button, and you can see an active kit gets generated, which can be a license plate as well. So once this active kit gets generated, we will scan the items, which will then assign the items into that particular kit. So let me show you an example of the barcodes that I'm going to scan today, which is pretty much, you can see the barcodes that I prepared for the demo today is pretty much this. All the barcodes here, you have bin location, you have item barcodes. So this is some of the sample barcodes that I have for the demo, and I'll show you scanning those barcodes, how it looks like in the TBO4 feedback screen as well. So yeah, let me run through that scanning process. So I'll just scan the first one. So you can see when I scan, the scan comes up as a success displayed here. The received quantity changes to 1. So I can scan in multiple times to increment the quantity here as well. So you can see I scanned in 3 times. So it tells me the purchase quantity is 5, the received quantity is 3. I can expand the audit grid to see what I have done. And the audit grid tells me that I have scanned these 3 items 3 times. Always there is an option in the WMS to manually receive that item as well. If your barcode is broken or if you don't want to scan, there is always an option that you can go drill inside an item by clicking on the item code, and you can see the respective details here of what is purchased in the received quantity. So received is 3 because I scanned in 3 times, and then the remaining I'll just type in 2. I want to manually receive it, and you can see the active kit, which is already activated at the start, still comes through in here as well. So the quantity is 2, and I click on add, and it just takes me to the next item line. So the WMS is smart enough to identify if it's a batch track item or a serial track item or a regular stock item. In this case, this item is a batch tracked item. So now you can see it tells me that please enter the batch serial code for that item. So using TBO4, you can keep a track of the item, of what batches you are receiving as well. So in this case, I'll just type in a batch called test batch 01, which is the batch that I want to receive. I want to receive 10 of this batch, and I can just put in an expiry date as well. So yeah, this is just like batch tracking products. It's like this. You can, even if you have a GS1 barcode in it, you can scan that GS1 barcode and it should populate with that batch and the quantity as well. So again, once you have received it, you can see color codings in our WMS, which indicates that it's green in color, which indicates that the lines are received in full. You can always click on the audit lines to see what operations are done. For example, you can see here for the batch items, you can see the batch serial that is received with an expiry date and with the received quantity. So now once you have received items into this kit, so what the user might do is they can print the labels for the kit as well. So if I go to the print label screen, you can see the kits, respective kits, all the kits come up here. You can look for a specific kit, and then what you can do, you can print the kits using to a specific printer. You can see different label templates we have. You can choose any of the label templates. We can set them as default as well in the WMS, and you can print the kit label template. So once you print the kit label template, let me show you how it looks like. So just hang on. So the kit label template will look like this. It's pretty much like this, the kit label template. This is just a palette label. As you can see, we have named it. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you by scanning this kit label template, how you can put away in the next step as well. So yeah, let me run through that scenario. So now once you're on this printed the labels, you have received the items into the kit, you can do a put away. You go to goods receipt and put away module, and the put away module will open up the last received purchase order. You can see the last received purchase order comes through the put away screen, and the supplier gets selected automatically because it's smart enough to know what you have received in the last screen. And then you can dive into that purchase order again to see what are the items you have received. So you can see the received quantity was 5 and 10 for this particular purchase order. There's a default put away bin here as well. So this is a pretty customizable logic in the WMS, depending on what is the rule that you want to set for the default put away bin. It can be item default put away bin, it can be warehouse default bin, something like that, along the lines of that. So the process for put away is you scan the bin locations first. So let me show you if I scan a bin location here. So I don't want to put away in this bin. I just want to put away in some other bins. So let me scan a bin first. So when I scan a bin, you can see there is a success banner displayed at the top and the bin code changes to B2. So now once I've scanned the bin, I want to put my kit palette away into that particular bin that I have assigned it in receiving. So how to do that? I'll scan a kit barcode here. So once I scan that kit barcode, you can see there is a success displayed at the top. And if you see the audit grid, you can see what I have done. You can see I've scanned this particular kit. And since I have received items and made the kit at the receiving stage, I could see that when I scan that kit, it comes up with that particular items, and you can put it away in this particular bin. So the audit grid gives you an idea that you have put it away in this bin, which is B2, and then you can complete the transaction from here. So now once you complete the transaction, so it should go back and update Sage Intacct. So let me show you how Sage Intacct looks like. So this is the purchase order. So if I refresh the screen again, yep. So you can see the state changes to converted. And if you check the history here, you can see the PO receiver inventory is created. You can always dive into the PO receiver inventory to see what are the items you have received. You can go into the line to see what are the details and what are the serial slot received as well. So it's all an end-to-end integration with Sage Intacct with TBO4. So this is how the receiving and the put away bits work with the kitting side as well. So the next bit which I'm moving into is something like a transfer. So now I want to transfer my kit from one bin location to another bin location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to inventory and click on the create new stock transfer module. So once I click on the create new stock transfer module, what I'm going to do is scan my kit first. The process is scanning the kit first. So I'm going to scan the kit. So once I scan the kit here, you can see the kit comes up with the items that has been received, that has been put away in this bin location. It comes up with the bin location as well automatically because it knows where the kit belongs to. And now I'm going to scan the 2 bin that I want to transfer the kit to. So what I'm going to do is scan the 2 bin here. And once I scan the 2 bin here, you can see the 2 bin comes up in this particular section, which tells me that I can put away the kit into this bin. So I'm going to tell the system again, okay, the 2 bin is selected. So I'm going to scan the kit again to put that kit away. Yes, so what you can see here, there's a success here. The grids are populated to tell you what is the kit that you're transferring from which bin location to which bin location. For example, B2 to B3 in this case. And once I've scanned the kit, you can then confirm the transaction in TBO4. Okay, so once you have confirmed the transaction in TBO4, it goes away and then it goes back and then updates Intacct as well with the bin transfer movement as well. Okay, moving ahead, what I'm going to do now is show you basically the sales order picking side of things. So before moving ahead, what I'm going to do is I'm showing you something like the Intacct side of things, how it looks like. So if you go to applications, inventory control, and if you go to transfer, the transfer that I did is basically this one. You can see it has updated Sage Intacct with the records that I've transferred. So you can see 10 and 5 has been moved into which bin location as well. You can go into the details to see what are the items you have received in. And you can see basically what is in inventory as well for that item. So you can see it's clearly received in with the transfer completed from TBO4. So this is how you transfer kits. We have shown you put away with kits. We have shown you transfer of kits. Now what I'm going to show you is the picking process. So for the picking process, what I'm going to show you the sales order that I'm going to operate in this demo today. So yeah, if you go to something like an order entry, go to sales order. So the sales order that I'm going to work with is this one, which is SO554. If I dive into that sales order, you can see there are 2 items in that sales order in itself. So which is the similar sort of items, which is a regular stock item and a batch item. So once the sales order is created, you can see I've put in certain details like customer PO number, test reference number, and the ship date is 10/12/2023. So now what I'm going to do in TBO4, I go back to the home screen, that's fine. So you can see there are favorite icons that I've displayed in here as well, so that it's easy accessible for the user. You can either go to Pick Pack Manager from here, or you can go to Sales and Pick Pack Manager from here. It's the same screen. So once the Pick Pack Manager screen loads, you can then search for all the open sales order in the system. So now that open sales order comes through in here, you can see the customer name that has ordered, and you can see the due date and the doc date and the number of lines for that order as well. So these are a few of the filters you can play around to see for the specified date range. You can search for all the open orders, and if you want to make the due date as blank, you can then search for all the open orders. There are options for including and excluding back orders in the system as well, so it works pretty well with all the options here. So now once I see my open order, I want to release this order, so I select the order, I click on release by doc, and that releases the order for the pickers to then pick it. So once that order gets released, I go to the sales module and click on the picking option. So this is where the pickers see all their orders. So they can see, you can see the orders that have released in comes through this picking module, and it has got a pick ID. It has got all the customer details, the addresses, the number of lines, the instructions. So everything, whatever information you want to be displayed from Sage Intacct, it can be displayed in the screen. We have extra fields in the screen to display as much information as you want. You can see there are different statuses tab to indicate what is the order status in your warehouses. You can assign users as well in the screen to a pick, and also you can assign priorities to the pick as well. So moving ahead, what I'm going to show you is basically picking this order. So what I need to do first is dive into the pick ID. So the pick ID will then open that particular screen, which is the pick line screen. And this is the screen where the users will scan their barcodes and then populate the pick quantity to be dispatched. So a few other details in the screen, which you can see, there are columns here. These columns are pretty rearrangeable. You can hide those columns, rearrange those columns depending on what the user wants to see the information at that point in time. But there is other information like the customer PO number, the customer comes at the top as well. So the scenario that I'm going to run through today is picking the items, and then once I pick the items, I am going to close the box because I'm picking items into the box, and then I'm going to ship that box out. So that's the idea behind today's demo today. So yeah, let's scan a bin location first that I'm picking the item from. So I'll show you scanning a bin of how the screen looks like. So once I scan a bin, you can see there's a bin scan success. The bin code comes up here. So now once I scan the bin, I want to pick the item. So what I'm going to do is pick the item. So you can see once I pick the item, the pick quantity goes to 1. The quantity remaining decreases. The release quantity is 3. I scan it again. So you can see here the pick quantity goes to 2 as well. At any point in time, there is an option in the WMS where what you can do is basically you can then go into the test rig and then manually enter the quantity for that item as well. So you can see here the bin location is B2 selected. The quantity on hand is 32 in this bin location. And if you expand the bin location button, you can see the items present in which bin location with a quantity of hand as well. So I'll just pick it from B3 and then type in add, click on go add. So once I've picked this item, what I am going to show you is the screen here. You can see the line changes to green here, which means the lines has been fulfilled in full. You can see here the items that I've picked in comes through in here as well, the bin locations that I picked it from. And now I'm going to close the box because my box is full with these 3 items. So I've closed the box. So once I close the box, you can see how the audit grid reflects the package label. So it tells me that that particular item has got a box ID. So now you know that this item is in this particular box. So we'll move on to the next line item, which is the batch item here. So what I'm going to do is if I go and click this batch item, you can see here this detail screen will have a batch serial button. And in this batch serial button, you will have a list of different batches for that particular item and what are the batches present in which bin location. So now you can see here, this is the batch that I've received previously in the receiving, and it also comes through in here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this batch from this particular B3 bin with the quantity of hand is 10, I know. So I'm going to pick like 6 of this batch in this case and click on add. Sorry about that. So once I pick this batch, what I'm going to do is you can see the quantity remaining goes to 0, and then I'm going to close the box for this second item as well, because the 6 is going to a different box if I expand the audit grid. So basically you can see there are 2 pack IDs generated. So there are 2 boxes in place. I put the items in 2 boxes. So the next step is printing the labels. Also, before printing the labels, I'm going to add one point here. You can attach photos, or you can click photos using small scanners we have, and then you can see I can attach as much photos as I want in the screen. So once the photos get attached, it comes through in here. You can add as much as 5 to 10 photos you want using the WMS while you're picking, or while you're receiving as well. And then the last bit is printing the labels, because you want to stick the box, the labels, because you want to identify what item goes in what boxes. So as you can see here, this is the print label screen. The 2 SSCCs that are generated comes through in here, and something like I'm going to choose like a predefined pack types. So if I choose cotton, you can see the dimension changes. Even if I want to change it to cotton and change my dimension to any other thing, I can do that as well. So what I'm going to do, you can see I can type in my dimensions here, and then basically I can type in my weights here as well, or you can choose it from the predefined pack types as well. So what I do, I hit update. You can see here the volume here gets calculated automatically, so which comes through in here as well. The other part is once you have updated your dimensions and stuff, you can choose your shipping type, or you can just set it to none. The shipping will be another stage, which I'm going to show you later. But just in this screen, I'm going to show you how the printing of box label works. So yeah, once you select all this and hit print, so it will send like a box label to your printer, to your designated printer here. So yeah, you can see the labels are sent to printer. So let me show you the labels itself as well, so how it looks like. So this is like a template we have for the labels. You can see there are 2 labels printed, which is this and this. So you can see the SSCCs come through in here. You can have the to from address, the sender, the warehouse address, the sales order number as well on the labels, and then you can stick it to your boxes so that the warehouse guys can identify where it's going to and what are the SSCCs for that box as well. So moving ahead, once the box labels are printed, you can go back to the previous screen, and then you can see if all has been done. You can then complete the transaction in TBO4. So once you complete the pick, it goes out from TBO4. You can see the pick has disappeared from the screen. So it's going to update Sage Intacct with the transaction as well. So moving ahead, what I'm going to show you is the disconnected freight. So once you have picked it, the order, you want to move into the shipment stage. So basically what I'm going to show you is the disconnected freight module. So once you're in the disconnected freight module, you can see the orders that are there in the disconnected freight module. So you can see if you want to ship the orders, you can select any one of the orders from here, open up the order. So once you open up the order, you can see, for example, if I want to ship out this order, you can see the orders that I'm shipping out with. You have the get freight code option as well, which basically goes back to the API to show you what it looks like the cheapest carrier at that point in time. You can choose the shipment type from here. We have our various shipping types as well. So you can choose, for example, if I want to ship this order out via Star Trek Express, you can ship this order via Star Trek Express as well. And then basically you can print that labels as well, depending on what you want. So if you click on select all, if you choose the Star Trek Express, if I print the freight labels, then what it's going to do is going to print me a freight label for the Star Trek as well. So you can see the labels have been sent to printer. What I'm going to show you is an example of a label here. So that gets printed to our printer. This is like a sample Star Trek label. You can see this is a sample Star Trek label that we printed from the printer, which will have all the Star Trek information. So once we hit that print freight labels, it goes and communicates to the freight API provider. It notifies them that a consignment has been created. It is ready for pickup, and you can come ahead and pick the stuff and deliver to your customers as well. So yeah, once it is done, you can then complete it from the WMS. It then goes and completes the transaction in TBO4 and disappears that order away. So yeah, this is the picking side of things from TBO4, where you basically pick your stock, and then basically then when the pick is completed, it goes back and updates Sage Intacct, and then you can ship them out depending on which carrier you want using the WMS as well. So the last bit is the WMS function is here. So now I'm going to run through like the TMS module, which is the deliveries function. So in here you can see this is deliveries module here. So what I'm going to show you is run management. So this is the run management screen. So in this run management screen, you can filter out by due dates of what deliveries you are planning to assign a runs and a cycles. So what I'm going to show you is basically I'm going to show you a particular date, which is of 10th November, 10th November. And if I search for this in the run management, so you can see there are multiple shipments in here that I have prepared for the demo today. So these are all being picked. These are all being shipped. So we can read off from the shipments, and we can read it off from the invoices as well, depending on what is the requirement. So you can set up sequences as well. So for example, if I want this to be on the first sequence, I can set up sequences as well. You can set up delivery times. You can set up runs and cycles. So basically, if I want to change this part to something like an east run, so what I do is I select all three, or maybe select any two, and then I choose the run that I want to assign it to. So now if I select 3 and assign to selected lines, you can see the run changes to south. And then if I want like it goes in a particular cycle, I can change the cycle as well, depending on what I want the cycle to be. So it's set as 0. So if I click on create new, you can see it'll go to a cycle 1. It goes to a cycle 1, so it changes the run to south, and then I can assign particular delivery times as well. So now it's just assigned this time, so we will work around with this time as well. So now at the end, once you have planned your run, once you have planned your cycles and times, you can then print the manifest from TBO4. If I click on print manifest, it opens me a manifest file, which you can then give it to your drivers to then scan basically the QR barcodes on the manifest in the load truck function. So your driver can see this run manifest to see what are the addresses they are delivering the items to, they're delivering their shipment to, and they can then plan their drop-offs as well. So this is run management in TBO4. So once the runs management is done, you have planned your runs. The next module that the drivers would love to do is, or the managers would love to use, is the load truck function. So in order to do that, what we are going to do is go to deliveries and load truck. So let me open the load truck as well. So now if I open the load truck, you can see the load truck functionality is basically the name, as the name suggests, you are planning to load your truck. You can have a reverse loading of truck as well, or you can scan your deliveries into the truck as well. So I'm going to choose a date, which is the date that I've shown you in the run management. I'm going to choose a run, which is the south that I've set in run management as well. So now once I've selected the run, the cycle gets selected automatically, and I hit select. And then here you can see the shipments that are planned to be loaded for the day, and what are the delivery times and what are the addresses. So a few things here. The print manifest will print the manifest for you in the same way that it did in the run management screen. And what you can do from the load truck screen is you can send this information to the cargo details that we have, and the API will then plan your load to find out that most effective load option for you. So yeah, it's sending a request to the API. As you can see, it's loading that third-party API provider that we integrate with, which is the Easy Cargo in this case. So yes, as you can see here, so you can choose from a different list of containers. On the right-hand side, you can see there are different container types. There is thought liners as well. There is box liners with the different sizes as well, depending on what you want. So let me just choose a sample one today. I can show you with this container 40. And if I click that load button, so you can see this is a 3D map of the load planning as well. You can move around the boxes. You can then see what's the plan of load. Depending on the dimensions being set, it is smart enough to then load your boxes effectively. And then what you can do, if you want this details to be sent back to TBO4, what you do need to do is share this link and create a public link basically. So once the public link is created, you can then retrieve the report from TBO4. But before doing that, I'm going to show you some other cool stuff here as well. Basically, you can choose a truck, and then you can plan the load into the truck as well. You can see the weights distribution in here as well. It can show you the weight distribution, what is the weight distribution at the front, what is the weight distribution at the back, and this is pretty effective for the managers to plan their loads when they're planning their boxes or when they're planning their shipment load into the truck, to see what goes first and what goes after the second shipment boxes as well. So this is how you can plan your load truck effectively, which is the 3D world that we are doing the 3D load planning for. This is basically in 3D in itself. So once this is done, you have sent the report to TBO4. So what you can do is then you can retrieve the cargo report from TBO4 in itself. Yeah, so once you retrieve that cargo report here, so you can see whatever we have planned comes through in TBO4, you can give this to your driver so that they can see what they are planning, what they are shipping out, and then they can then plan their load as per the report that the manager has planned. So this is the load truck functionality in itself, where you can plan your loads into the truck. You can give the reports to your driver. They can start scanning that shipment in to increase that load quantity. Let me show you how the scanning works by simulating a scan here. So if I scan that shipment, you can see here the shipment comes with a load quantity of 1. If I want to scan the second shipment, I just scan the second shipment. It goes to the load quantity for the second shipment as well. So that's how I'm loading my truck based on the report that was generated from TBO4, and I'm scanning the third shipment. And you can see when I scan the third shipment, there's a success banner at the top, and it tells me what is the load quantity while I'm loading my truck for that particular shipment as well. So once the shipments are loaded, it is all done. You can then complete from TBO4, and we might have a report printed to you depending on notification sent to you, depending on the shipment is done or the shipment is loaded. It is then ready to be shipped out and go out on the road as well. So this is the load truck functionality. The last bit is, which I'm going to show you of the TMS module, it's the proof of delivery dispatch and review. So what I'm going to do is basically go to deliveries module and go to something like a POD dispatch. And in this POD dispatch, what I'm going to show you is basically I'm going to show you those shipments that I've sent out today. How now when the driver arrives at the customer place, they can then sign and click photos for that delivery and see what are the items in there as well. So let me then add shipments here. So you can see I can add as multiple shipments as I want. This is one shipment that I have worked with, which the other one is this. And the last bit is basically the 524. So now, as you can see, I have added in 3 shipments, which I'm delivering. You can add multiple shipments as much as you want while you're delivering the goods. If it belongs to the same customer, or if it doesn't belong to the same customer, you can then remove it as well. So I just, for example, this 2 shipments goes to the same customer. So I've just added in. I clicked on add documents, and it then opens up me the line for the shipment. I can then see what are the items that I'm delivering. Either I can hit deliver all here, which then populates the lines that I'm delivering. I can then type in the carton count that I'm delivering and also my name as well, that for the driver. I can then sign in my proof of delivery and then save the signature. The other part, I can click photos while I'm delivering in the proof of delivery function. In this case, I have attached one photo here. You can see you can capture a max of 30 photos, so as much photos as you want. And then basically at the end, what I need to do is save my proof of delivery. So once my proof of delivery is saved, we go back and then drop the files onto the server, and then customers or the end user gets a notification that the goods have been delivered successfully. The other way you can use the TBO4 to then do like a proof of delivery review. So you go to deliveries and POD review here. And then if you look for a particular shipment, if I click search, you can see the signature, the photos and the reports that I've done from the proof of delivery feeds back through here as well. So now if I open up the report, you can see I have added in multiple shipments in the same report. So that's why it's coming up with all the shipments in. So you can see the order quantity, the deliver quantity, the card codes, the signatures, and the PDA gets with this signed information and the total cartons that I'm delivering. So you can see here, if I do a like search as well, it will load me all the open PODs in the system that I've done from TBO4, and then you can access the signature, the photos, and the reports using the WMS function as well. So yes, that's the WMS in itself with the TMS module built into it. The last bit which we have recently developed and which is quite popular in the market right now is the customer portal solution, which is this one. So the customer portal is pretty useful for the customer service team. to track their orders in the warehouse. So every customer service team can have this to have a better visibility of where the orders are in the warehouse, if the goods have been delivered or not. So you can see as we have got an individual login for the customer portal. So once I log in with that user, so you can see once I log in with that user, I can see the orders for this particular customer, or you can have set to multiple customers as well. So now you can see the multiple stages of the orders that are there. You can see the pick status for this order has been completed, picked. It's in disconnected freight, which is the shipping stage we call the partially picked stage as well. You can filter out the order status from the top column here. You can see what are the packed orders, what are the picked orders, and what are the completed orders as well. So now you can change the filters, the date filters from here, play around with the customer filter as at the top. And then you can also dive into the order to see what are the items that are picked for that order. As you can see here, these are the items that I've picked for this order. So this is basically customer portal to show you what the statuses of these orders are, the orders tab. The next tab is basically the ship details tab, which gives you an idea of the orders that has been shipped out using a freight provider. So this orders, you can see it's in the completed tab, which means these orders have been shipped out. So if I dive into the order, you can see what are the SSCCs for that order and what are the length, width, height, volume for that order, and what is the consignment that is being shipped out with, and what is the freight carrier it's being shipped out with. It has also got a manifest date to give you an idea when it is being shipped out with as well. So next comes the POD review tab. So the POD review tab will feed back the PODs done from TBO4 into this particular customer portal. So the customer service team can then go to the POD review tab to see what are the orders that are being delivered, and then they can access the signature file, the photos file, and like the report file as well. So through the customer portal, the customer service team, it's very helpful for the customer service team because they can get an idea of what the orders are, at what stage in the warehouse, if the orders are being delivered or not, if the orders are being shipped or not. So this is customer portal in itself.
So there's just a question there, Debraj, and I know that happens a bit. There is a section there of the customer portal, so that will be related to third party, which is can we tell, track the status. So just like the, let's just take Australia Post because they've got it. So there is a get status option there to say get status of that order, and it will feed back what it's up to. So Australia Post or Direct Freight or a third-party provider will feed back the status to us, and that will be a live status as well. And there's just one more thing I think.
I'll bring it up, which is the 3D reporting.
So this is just where we have the 3D reporting. We actually go on site, get the X and Y coordinates of a warehouse, and we go and do the live tracking. So if you're doing transfers, if you're doing picks and things like that, probably the part where we see here is some things where, the container has come in, I've got 90 pallets to put away, where can I best fit them and where can I go? So we can give a visual report to the operational people. And the second part to that is looking more at the labour optimisation. So, was my pick path efficient? I know that's one of the questions. And how do I, report on the utilisation of my labour? So the 3D model's kind of been able to help us with that and go to the next part.